awesome. And then they started out at the University of Michigan. They went through the tech arc, and Verity decided, before all of this, when he was running his burrito joint, he goes, I'm really dissatisfied with the point of sale system. Is that correct? And he goes, I need to design my own. So, well, from the story that I'm getting, Verity decided to go and venture out and design his own point of sale system. And then he runs into Errol at this Turkish wine tasting tour. Now, the most oddest places to meet your partners. But then they went out together and they decided to develop their own point of sale. And so now they're in Silicon Valley, and they've come here all the way from there to join us today. And a little bit of a fun fact about both of them. So Errol apparently is a master at piano, and Verity is a nationally recognized ski instructor. So I don't know about you guys, but I would like to take lessons. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Verity Argun and Errol Ahmed with Rethink. Thank you.
Thanks, Radisha. Hey, it's great to be here, and we're really excited to be a part of this. And I just have to say quickly, before we jump to the presentation, how awesome it is that all of you have decided to give up your Fridays and your Saturday and your Sunday to do this. Because, you could be out just relaxing at home playing Xbox, but instead you're taking a stand and you're saying, we're going to actually devote our weekend to building something. And how cool is that? And in a lot of ways, at the end of this weekend, you'll be able to sit back and take a look at what you accomplished in the same way that we got an opportunity to do that for the presentation today. This was an opportunity for us to take a look at what we've been able to build over the last couple of years. This company started and was homegrown in Ann Arbor. As Radisha mentioned, we started out in the Tech Arb. We worked with Spark. We worked with the First Step Fund. We worked with the Dare to Dream program, the Michigan Business Challenge. We took advantage of all the university opportunities right here in Ann Arbor. We were working out of our homes for a while, then we got an office on McKinley before we ended up raising some money with Detroit and then doing the whole Silicon Valley thing. So we can start out and just kind of, what do we do? Maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't. We'll just spend a minute. We build a point of sale system. It runs on a tablet and it replaces a cash register at the store. And this is what it looks like. The owner it's really easy to use, and the store clerk can easily ring in items. The cool thing about this is that everything is on the cloud. So today, it's really difficult to see your sales data wherever you are. We give a back end to the owners that looks like this, and they can go in and they can see what's selling, what's not selling, how often. They get graphs and reports. They can pull up information on sizes. They can sort the information based on how often it's selling, when it's not. And kind of an interesting data point here is this got started in February 2009, and we actually were at a Detroit startup weekend working with a team of people at the very, very, very beginning stages before any of this was built. And in a lot of ways, what the ideas that were in the system today came from that. So we put together a presentation, and here it is.
Okay, so yeah, we're going to go through sort of like the history of how we built our product, both the tablet and the administration. And I'd like to start off with something we like to call the Tower of Babel effect. So when you're starting off with an idea in a company, you kind of just, there's lots of ideas, and especially with technologies, there's lots of programming languages you can do it in. And when you first start out, you're just building and building and building and not having a lot of direction. So the first thing Verity and I did is we talked with our customers and we got the details on what they liked. And we started off with a really, really basic system. So this is, this is an example of the Tower of Babel effect. It's a little dark. This is our cash register page. This is what an owner would use to take money out of the cash drawer at the store and put in more cash inside. And it's complicated. I don't even know what it does completely. But okay, so we talked to them, we showed them, they hated it, and we redesigned it. This is a mock-up, this is how we simplified it. There's a button that says add cash and remove cash, and then this is a keypad. And that's actually all they needed. They didn't need graphs, they didn't need statistics, they didn't need to know who, what, where, when, and why. They just need to remove money or add it. So, the key is to build again and again and again. You have to start somewhere. And we started with, OHM version 1.1. This is just a calculator. This is a checkout area. And it worked really well because it's simple, and it's direct. And of course, our favorite, the mock-ups. So this is one of our first user experience pages. We don't want to show these a lot, but we already actually drew this. It's quite the artist. And then this is what Verity put together when I first met Verity. This is Joe. This is what it used to be called, Joe's. 4 coffee shops, and you can see our basic sort of structure: icons, big buttons, bill area, and I don't know, some footers, copyright information when that matters, and then this gratuitous, disgustingly huge logo at the top. And this is like okay, this is a good product to get out there. But we simplified it. We got rid of a lot of the visual clutter, because when you're dealing with customers that are working in a business like clerks and baristas, they don't have time to care about your brand or what you think is important, like your logo. So we focus on the content. And here's another interesting thing about designing for people, designing a product, is it's important to get their feedback, right? But you also have to watch their behavior, because their behavior is really important. And what we found is they liked the icons when they first saw them. They said like, these icons are great. But when we watched them using the system, the icons got in the way of how they work, because they take up a lot of screen real estate, and the text doesn't have a lot of room to be prominent. And these are people that are working 4 or 5 hours at the register. They memorize where everything is. So we iterated. We tried a new design. We put text instead of icons in the boxes, and honestly, it looks ugly, and it's a big waste of space. Okay, so we talked to our customers. We didn't quite listen to them, actually. We ignored what they were saying, but we watched what they were doing. And what they were doing is using the system really quickly. So we put text, and again, it looks bad. So, it's a trade-off. It has to look good, but it has to be functional. And this is actually the version we're rolling out soon, which is a complete redesign of what this system looks like today. And we've gotten rid of the icons. The text is the icon, the button. There's a lot more space, more denser information, and it's simplified, but it's still dense. And the bill area has been expanded a lot. And this is important because you're optimizing your system for speed, and that's what's the most important facet of doing a business type of application: speed, speed, speed. This is at a coffee shop. Because none of you like waiting in line, and the person behind the counter doesn't like getting frustrated with their system.
Thanks. So, at the burrito joint, I had a heck of a time even understanding what I was selling. I really didn't even know. I had 1,000 different reports that I could run. I didn't know the difference between one or the other. I had to be at the store to save a PDF file, put it on a USB drive, and then take it back home to get the data. And I didn't want to put it on a laptop at the store because everybody else was there and it's hectic and you don't want to get in the way of people. So we originally, in Joe, came up with an idea for a dashboard that was super easy. And this is one of my original designs. Basically, you had your top 5 of everything. Your top 5 categories, your items, your people. You had tabs on the bottom that you could go to different, basically your 10 most important areas of the application. And then you had a little location selector on the side that would allow you to say, do I want to look at my store on Main Street, or do I want to look at my store on South University?
And he had a huge logo.
And there's a huge logo.
I just want to emphasize, your users don't really care that much about your company logo at this point. It needs to be small, maybe in the footer.
So this was back in 2009, and we ran into several limitations, but this is right about the time that Errol and I met, and we ended up rolling out a much more usable and beautiful version of that, and this was what it looked like. And it's the same kind of concept, your top 5 of everything, but now we added this kind of concept where the locations are on the bottom, so you can scroll, you can maximize the screen real estate. There's this whole thing with lenses where you can flip over one of these tiles and get a different view of that top 5 information. You could add new locations, and you still had kind of the same concept, but much more clean and easy to use. At some point, though, we hit this wall at the end of 2009 where this became really limited. And it looked great on a tablet, but it didn't look so great on as a web page. And it didn't really use a lot of conventions that people are used to in websites, like scrolling or just basic navigation. So this was the next version. And this came out we started working on this in early 2010. And this was kind of the first step towards what we have today. And this one was more of a web page layout. Now, instead of having everything on this previous one emphasized in the same way, we started emphasizing some things more important than other things. So, for example, your sales. We put that really prominently in the top left. We gave you a graph that showed you exactly what you were selling and when you were selling it. We introduced this concept of sales goals. And we started to create this idea of your top 5 panes, but being along the sides so you can scroll down and have them most important to least important. So your items should be at the top, maybe labor employees would be a little bit further down the list. And that brought us to where we are today, where now it's really started to turn into a system that's easy to use as a website. It gives you the information that you need, it gives you your sales data. We've added a couple of little widgets in there. There's a weather widget that people really enjoy using that shows them the current weather. Your net sales, your gross sales, how many transactions you've had, and the graph has really grown a lot. And this is actually functional, this is in use today. We've also added this concept of date ranges, so if you want to take a look at a specific day and time over a course of, let's say, a month or a week, you can specify those days and times. And this is what it looks like on a laptop.
All right, so you have a product and it's functional and the customers like it, they're giving you feedback, they're using it, but if you want to keep them coming back, if you want them to talk about your product, become advocates of your product and your vision, you have to delight them, you have to keep them excited, you have to give them little surprises. So one of the ways we did this in our product is with social media. So we're big proponents of letting store owners connect with their customers before and after the actual transaction at the store. And we do this by putting in these social media tools. Store owners can connect their Twitter and Facebook and Foursquare right in the product, and they can see who's checked in, who's writing about them. If you mention the store will show up, and this gets people thinking about their business more than just a place to sell things, but a place where people gather, have experiences, share memories. So we have a rule. It's called customer delight in 7 minutes. You want to make sure your product within 7 minutes is going to put a smile on your users. However you want to do that, a funny image, a cool interaction, letting them upload their photograph. By the way, photos are huge. If you put a photograph, people love seeing themselves on the product, so letting them upload photos is really a great thing to have. Seeing, who the king is or the mayor at Foursquare is for their location. So, you have to bake that into the product. You don't have to build it right away. It's not the first thing you start with, because you need the functionality there, or else they won't even use it. But this is what makes them, smile. And eventually they get excited. These are customer quotes. Customers become advocates. They talk about your product. I fell in love. I knew this was a system for my store. So you want to be thinking about your users as people. And so eventually you get sort of this